Hey there, and thank you for joining me on the Retro Game Couch. And in today's video I want to show you a cool new cartridge for the Commodore 64, which is the Kung Fu Flash. Now this lets you load games almost instantly on your C64. So in this video we're going to see what this baby can do. So let's go.
The Kung Fu Flash has a micro SD card slot and 3 buttons. The buttons are Reset, a menu button, and a special button for if you're using freezer cartridges. My Kung Fu Flash is running firmware version 1.08. To check if a newer firmware version is available, visit the project's GitHub page and browse to firmware update. If a newer version is available, download it and then copy it to your micro SD card. Then on your Commodore 64, use the file browser of the Kung Fu Flash to navigate to the firmware update and execute it. As you can see, my version went from 1.08 to 1.14.
I have the Kung Fu Flash inserted into the cartridge port of the Commodore 64, and as you can see I'm using a little bit of a different setup this time. The composite video is still going to this TFT monitor, and the S video is going to the RetroTink 2X Pro, like the last time, and the upscaled HDMI video is going to my capture device. Now, normally I have my PC monitor linked to my capture device so I can see what it's actually recording. Not this time. Now I have this very cool 14-inch portable IPS screen from WiMAXit. It's a USB-C portable display. I have this for review. I'm not going to do a full video on this. I'm just going to show you what I've been using it for the last couple of days, and that's tinkering with old machines and just having a portable screen at your disposal. It's like having a tablet, and it's really awesome. Pressing the menu button on the Kung Fu Flash brings you to this file browser, which shows the contents of the micro SD card that you inserted into the cartridge. And I have it loaded with the same games that I used for the back bit. And this cartridge supports CRT files and also has limited support for D64, D71, D81 and PRG files. Now let me just show you how it works. Let's go to the Ocean games. It does support the big cartridges like Terminator 2, but let's start with a 64K one like Wonder Boy. And it will then flash the cartridge into its memory like it did right there, and then we can start the game instantly. Now the cool thing is that if you reset your machine and start it back up, it will have that game in memory, and it's like having that particular cartridge in your C64. It will instantly start loading that game. So that's really a cool feature. So now we can play Wonder Boy. So that works perfectly. Now let's try the bigger cartridge, the Terminator 2 one, which is here. It's now programming the flash memory. You need to keep your machine on because it's writing to memory right now. So we need to wait, and there it is. Still pretty darn quick. And that's Terminator 2. So CRT images work perfectly. So I have a folder here with tape games, but they are actually PRG games. So this should work. So let's fire up Bruce Lee. And as you can see, it loads. Let's just wait and see if it actually works. That works. So now let's try a D64 image. It doesn't support fast loading routines, so this is a folder with games without fast loading. And let's try, for example, International Karate. Now you can use the joystick to go up and down and press the fire button to select a disk image, or you can use the arrow keys and then press enter. And if you want options for this particular disk image, you can long press or press shift enter. And now we can actually open this disk image in the browser so we can see what's on it and choose what we want to start. but you can also choose to mount it. You will then go to basic and you can do it yourself. You can load the listing of this disk image and then load it yourself, which is pretty awesome. But you can also, if you go into the disk image by single pressing, you can go to a PRG file, long press, and choose load, which will use the load system from this file browser, or you can mount and load, and it will then actually mount the disk image and load that single PRG. So I'm not really sure which is the preferable way to load a game. If I just press enter, it will do the mount and load, but I'm not really sure if that is, for example, compatible with the Commodore 64 game system, which we're going to test, of course, in a moment. So this is crashing. Hold on. Okay, so let's try a different game. I also saw Ghosts and Goblins. Let's try. So pressing home will bring you to the root of the SD folder. So let's try a D81 image, like Last Ninja, for example. No, that crashed. Let's try one of the other Last Ninjas, Last Ninja 2. The only downside I found to this portable screen is that it doesn't support 4:3 mode. It does have a game mode, so that's really good, but no 4:3. But for quick testing, it really is fine. Now the Kung Fu Flash not only supports cartridge games, but it also supports a lot of other cartridges like fast loaders and Simon's Basic and that kind of stuff. It also supports my favorite cartridge, which is the Power cartridge, which isn't the fastest, but it just gives me very fond memories. So if we load this CRT file, it gives me a splash screen that I have very, very fond memories of. So let's try loading a game using the UK 1541, which we also did in the previous video. I have to reset it because this thing is pretty crappy. So Platoon is now mounted, so we should be able to list, but it doesn't list. Let's try resetting everything again. It doesn't want to load. What is up? Okay, let me try this without the Kung Fu Flash in the cartridge port and see if the UK 1541 wants to play ball. Okay, the Kung Fu Flash is removed now. Let me reset it. And it mounted it again. Load. Whoops. Yeah, this works. So it doesn't really work in conjunction with the UK 1541 as the back bit did. Okay, so new try. I have the final cartridge here, which is now loaded. So now if we go to System Basic and then ask for a listing, it works. So now it should load this game pretty fast because it uses the final cartridge 3, and as you can see, it actually does. So this works. Now I know that the UK 1541 doesn't really like to play ball with Platoon, but I just wanted to show you that fast loading actually works if you want to use the Kung Fu Flash as a fast loader. So that's pretty freaking cool. Now let's do some other experiments with this bad boy. So before inserting this thing into the C64 games system, we need to find a cartridge that we like, one of the cartridge games. Let's just do what's the most fun, which is of course Terminator 2, which is the biggest fail of all, which was released for the games system but asks for the key press on the first screen. So it now flashed that cartridge image onto the Kung Fu Flash card. So let's insert it. It fits a lot better than the back bit does actually, so that's a thing I guess. Alright, I'm ready. Does this work? This works. So it is compatible with the C64 GS, but yeah, let's not make the same joke, but this is of course laughable. Let's try if we can mount a D64 and then see if that works on the GS. Let's try it with the D64 image of Into the Eagle's Nest. And now we have two options. We can try the mount and load option, but we're also going to try just the load option. Let's first try mount and load. So it goes to basic, then mounts the disk image and runs the game. Let's see if that works in a GS. Okay, it's all set up again. Let's try if this works. No, this doesn't work. Perhaps it works with the load system, with the internal loading mechanism of the Kung Fu Flash itself. It does open the file browser. Oh, so we can actually try doing this here. So we can say load. Does this work? Wait, why didn't I try this on the back bit? Let's try that in a moment. Let's first go to the menu and try a game from which we know that it works. Let's go for Genesisters. No, that doesn't work like this. But if we go into the game again and say load, it does try to load it. Hero. We know that Hero works, so let's try the load option. It does try to load the game, but as you can see, it's a bit distorted. So let's try a reset. That works. Let's try Bruce Lee. It seems to be working. Looks like it is. Well, we won't be able to play it because you need to press F7 or F5 to load the game, to start the game. But there are a few games that you can get working using this internal system. That really makes me wonder if I missed something with the back bit. Hold on. So no, this actually doesn't work, sadly, because we have no other buttons on the back bit and we cannot shift press or do anything else to load the D64 in a different way. This just doesn't work. But this is more compatible with the GS, which is pretty cool. For good measure, let's try another CRT game, which is Turrican, one of my favorites. Why are we still on the GS? Hold on. No. Yeah, this is of course a great game. So it works perfectly with every CRT image that you throw at it. It flashes it into memory and then it just works. It also works on the GS, which is really cool. And that really is the main use for this cartridge, in my humble opinion. It does work with D64, D71 and D81 images, but I just find it to be a little bit too finicky and unreliable in that respect. Perhaps it will get better with future firmware updates. So let me just give you one free tip for Turrican 1. There's an extra life here, and there's a bonus thingy here. Free advice. One thing I haven't mentioned is that this entire project is open source, not only the software but also the hardware. So you could potentially build one yourself at the cost of only the components that you need to build it. Now, I'm not nearly technical enough to do surface mount component soldering, so I got mine off eBay. It was sent to me by Daniel from retroguru.eu, and I'll leave a link to his store in the description below. So thank you, Daniel, for this unit. So you can get them pre-built on eBay with a nice case for around 50 euros, which is half of the price almost of the back bit. Now granted, It does do a lot less. It has a lot less features. It doesn't play SID files. It doesn't show koala images like the backbit does. One thing that I forgot to mention is that the Kung Fu Flash currently only works on PAL Commodore 64s. So that rules out a big chunk of Commodore 64s. Now, since it's an open source project and people are bound to contribute to this project, I think the PAL/NTSC problem will be fixed very soon, perhaps using a firmware update or something, or a hardware revision, I don't know, but this one only works on PAL, just something that I thought I should mention. So that's it for the review for the Kung Fu Flash. For now, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time on the Retro Game Couch.